Yep.
So were you the youngest?
There were four of us, three boys, one girl. I'm the oldest boy, and my sister's older than me. So I'm second.
Okay. Got it. And you had a brother that had a tragic accident. I remember when I was a kid, that was like famous.
So that was Travis, my brother. We were at the Jersey Shore of all places, and it was this huge, old, I forget what the type of build was, home, but the windowsills were like benches. And I remember I sat up on the bench of the windowsill and I was banging against the screen, just rocking back and forth. The screen was like huge. It was like 4x5. I mean, it was huge. And then my brother, mimicking his older brother, jumps up, and I was on the ground playing cars, and then I heard a loud crash, and I look up, and his feet were up in the air, and then they disappeared. And he had fallen out the window, landed on a car head first, swallowed his tongue. My mom cracked his teeth, got into his mouth, pulled his tongue out. He was in a coma for 12 days, and then recovered. And the resiliency of the human body, man, he's still alive. He's a father. He's kicking ass. So pretty amazing what the body can go through and still come back from.
I just the emotions that went through me, imagine you reliving that all the time. That is just an insane story, but that's the best takeaway right there, right? Is that the human body is just an amazing thing.
Dude, it's amazing wild, the way when we look at it, how it makes sense that what we would call symptoms are actually the healing, or what we would call sickness is actually what it does to heal, and we always, and now, I mean, the climate is to curse it and label it and cut things out and quiet it down. But it's like, if you really truly listen to it and observe it, it'll give you every clue you need as to what you need to do to put yourself in the best environment to heal. It wants nothing more than to love you and survive and thrive. That's it. Yeah. Like that's the job.
Okay, let's fire up the podcast. This is already golden.
Rock,
and
man.
So I'm gonna hit record, and then I'll do a little quick intro of you, Tommy. I'll throw it to Bear. He'll do his little spiel, and then we'll just go with it, man. It's gonna be fun. Okay. And boom, we're back for another episode of AlphaCast. I'm Mike Winter, and I'm here as always with Dr. Bear Paul Lando up here on the beautiful Smith River, up here in the great state of Jefferson, where freedom is still reigning supreme. Right, Bear? I think. Yeah. I was just snowboarding at Mount Ashland this weekend, and I saw a couple people wearing State of Jefferson sweatshirts on the slopes. It was pretty epic, actually. But yeah, I took the fam up there, and I was under that great majestic Mount Shasta, and actually had an amazing weekend. I feel like St. Germain was with us, Bear. It was just it was pretty amazing. The boys finally kind of like got a ski legit, and they've caught the ski bug. And I think we're going to be definitely doing it a lot more, and love to get you up there.
Good. Hopefully I can join you up there pretty soon. I woke up free this morning. I don't know about anybody else, but last time I looked, nothing's changed. So maybe we can talk about what freedom means a little bit, and good segues through sports and medicine today. So I'm looking forward to this, but go ahead, do your thing, Mike.
Yeah, no, we've got Dr. Tommy John on today. Super pumped on this. Bear and I are both ex-jocks and sports fanatics. Well, baseball was I would say my favorite sport to watch as a kid. And Bear, I think, would agree. So this is exciting having Dr. Tommy John on, who, of course, the son of the famous baseball player, was what they call him, the Bionic Man, I think, Tommy John, who's just has had a phenomenal career, and who I was lucky enough to see play in 1985 when I was 7 years old at Angel Stadium. But yeah, this is gonna be a great show. Excited for everything going on with Alfa Vedic right now, guys. Thanks so much for everybody, all the support. There's so much going on. We're going to be in Anarchapulco this year. Bear's speaking on the health and wellness virtual stage with like Del Bigtree's there, our friend Andy Kaufman. Dr. Batar. That's going to be a really powerful summit. And we're excited to be there. We'll have a virtual booth there. So come on by with your little avatar and see us. I'll be there, and we'll have the whole AV crew. Hopefully, we're going to have a new shirt design too by that time, Bear, to offer to fans of Alfa Vedic. So if you're new to Alfa Vedic, you can find out everything about us at alfavedic.com. That's ALFAVEDIC.com. And of course, our Telegram group is an amazing way to get involved. T.me/Alfa Vedic. I was just on an amazing show with Sayer G's podcast, or his show on Friday with Jason, one of the co-founders of our new crypto project called Cordal, that we've been pumping. We've had Jason on actually AlphaCast twice. John McAfee was on there once with us. This is really exciting because it's finally like happening. We feel it. People are seeing the vision. I just got hit up by David Avocado Wolf. I guess we're going to go on with him on Thursday to talk about it. So it's happening. And I mean, so much. Bear, you're going on with like International Doctors Panel in Europe talking about cornholio. That's what got us kicked off YT last week, but we're back on streaming on YT right now. So, and we can talk about that censorship a bit today because we're with Dr. Tommy, who knows all about it and who's been just a powerful force on Instagram. Not only are you an amazing chiro, but you do an amazing impersonation of Matthew McConaughey, which I really love. And that's actually like, I think someone first shared that with me. So we're in a group, we're all in this like private Telegram group, Free Thinkers. Yeah. And that's really where I first came across you. But then the Instagram, I left Instagram, but when I was on it, I loved watching your videos.
So do we get to see that today?
We could try. I could figure that. I'll do a little screen share or maybe you could just do it live, Tommy, because you do an amazing job. And Matthew McConaughey has actually been kind of impressing me of late. So, Dr. Tommy John is he's a performance coach and healer and a leading unapologetic voice across the globe in the medical freedom movement of today. A former professional athlete and published author with 3 degrees following his name, Dr. Tommy is both scholar and teacher, patient and healer, private and general. He owns and operates the Dr. Tommy John Performance and Healing Center in San Diego. And with over 20 years of clinical experience, he's impacted countless lives with his proven way to live, utilizing the 8 essentials to performance and healing, a system for harnessing action steps to adapt and thrive in this lifetime. At the core of this work, his patients relearn what it is to be truly sovereign and free within their bodies. For given these liberties, the body self-heals, regenerates, and holds the power to cure itself from anything, to actualize any vision, dream, or desire. But we must be free. So crucial. With body sovereignty at the heart of his life's work, in 2020, Dr. Tommy became a founding member of Health Freedom for Humanity. Here, he continues to fight for the inalienable right for all to live free and thrive. It's time the authenticity of humanity became popular. Isn't that weird that that's time for that? You think that would be like inert, right? I stand for bodily freedom when it comes to health and medical intervention. Dr. Tommy John, Bear Lando, this is gonna be a fun show.
Yeah, Dr. Tommy John.
Tommy, that's
Dr. Tommy John was not able to make it, but we got Matthew McConaughey here. And if you want me to take my shirt off, I can. If you want me to wet my hair, I can. If you want me to give a little green light, red light, I can do that too.
That's awesome. Boom, 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 boom.
That's the best I got. Boom. Yeah. Bear's on the other end. Like, what is going on?
I've actually got a remix because
this is awesome.
Dude, I've been
Tommy, awesome to have you here, buddy.
I've been an underground. Yeah, I've been an underground house DJ forever, Tommy, actually. One of the things I do. And I've actually I'll send it to you. I've got this like incredible dance remix of that. Believe it or not, this producer friend of mine made a track out of that. And it's actually really good. Dude, you do that incredible job at that.
Who inspired me? So I messed around with it with a friend of mine, Natani Boudreau, and she's like, "You have to do videos of that." And I'm like, okay, well, maybe, I don't know. And then I was on with Pete Evans. I was on his podcast, and then he goes, you look like Matthew McConaughey. Is Matthew McConaughey here today? And he drew me out, and I did a couple. He's like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. Do a video and of you asking Fauci questions, and I'll post it. I'll repost it. And then I did like 4 or 5 of them. So yeah, I got to get back on that.
Oh man. Yeah, it's great. You do a great job of that.
Thanks.
Yeah,
So
Bear.
you can have a great new career in stand-up anytime.
I
Looks
always
like we
got that
have a
to fall
pretty
back
good, yeah. So Tommy, great to have you today. I'm really looking forward to this. You know, I'm kind of biased towards jocks, being an old one myself, because I believe we have a very unique perspective on life. And until you played sports at a high level, you know, it automatically puts you in a very special club. If you don't mind today, I'm going to live kind of vicariously through your experience, because I have 2 frustrations in life. I'm a frustrated baseball player, and I'm also a frustrated sports medicine specialist. Those were my 2 original intentions in life. For some reason, I made the choice to follow football and give up baseball. And then the same thing happened in medicine. Different trainings took me in different directions. So it took me out of that loop. Every once in a while, when I got in the athletes that needed help orthopedically, I loved it. You know, they weren't sick and dying and all that. So it was awesome. Proof of the pudding in that baseball was really the focus of a great deal. The first part of my life, you know, I played football for a lot longer, but I never kept a football helmet. But I've always hung on to my baseball glove. So I'm a baseball player at heart, but I kind of ate myself and lifted weights out of being a good baseball player. So I ruined myself forever. But I played intramurals in college and everything while I was, you know, on a scholarship for football. So, hey, this is going to be fun. And, you know, Mike and I were talking before the episode today, and we're saying be kind of neat to look at societal issues today through a sports lens, because sports is really a little microcosm of everything that's going on today. And I can't even watch sports anymore, unfortunately. But anyway, hey, take it away. Anything you'd like to get into. Also, I think you're a surfer, and, you know, I've had quite a lifelong surfing addiction. So, you know, moved to the islands, you know, just to satisfy that. So if you want to go there too, anything that's fun for you.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, basically, like, did you watch the Super Bowl?
So here's the thing. I can't even believe they had a Super Bowl, right? Like the fact that they even had one. We all know, like real pandemics don't have Super Bowls. Okay. But I was curious. I wanted to see what the propaganda action was like. I just wanted to see, not that I don't do deep dive into too much deep state stuff, because I think I'd vomit more than I'd want to. But I just want to be aware of certain things. And so I'm also a Tom Brady fan. I love what he's done, that whole thing, how there is no age. Age means absolutely nothing, clearly, but just the propaganda, the messages, it takes all of us. The word vaccination in the commercial breaks, the commercials. I was just like, my God, just what we're up against, and what the other side, what's going on. The halftime show, all the people dying with the masks and all that. I was just like, okay, this is about as bad as I've ever seen, in addition to whatever we've led up to this point. Like, this is the forces that we're up against. I'm good. I may not watch sports again. Like, I just may not participate in anything. I mean, there's a lot we're not going to participate in anymore moving forward, but I think sports is one of them. Yeah.
I was telling Bear this. We almost did an Alpha Cast on professional sports 2 years ago, how I was like, it's like Days of Our Lives for grown men, right? Or it's like basically, it's not real sports, like pro sports I'm talking about, versus like, I'll go watch kids play baseball. if they allow that ever again, like we love athletics, but professional sports, the corporatization of it, it's just become so gross. I mean, it's been going this way for a long time. The money aspect, the ridiculous nature of it all. But I hadn't watched one NFL game all year. And I used to, 5 years ago, sit all Sunday. And I look back at these times and go, why did I do this? Sit and watch all the games, fantasy football I was really into. And then when you break out of that spell, and I went and watched, so we were snowboarding, and I got back for the second half and was watching, because Bear and I are Brady fans too. Sure. Big Brady fans. I used to not stand. I couldn't stand the guy, but now I love him.
Right.
And I was a New York Giants fan. So, but anyways, I was just like talking to my wife while I was on. I was like, am I just this out of touch? Does this just feel gross? Like everything about this entire situation, from the weird commercial announcers to the whole, I guess, the mainstream American culture, that the corporate culture just feels gross. Yeah. And sports is all part of that too. It just feels gross.
Yeah. My dad. So dude, my dad has not watched a baseball game in 15 years. That's Tommy John. Wow. Hasn't watched a baseball game. Like, he sensed it a while ago. I can't stand the way it is now, where it's corporate. I love the preparation. I love some of the injury setback. I love guys coming back when they actually have this. They have to find that passion bigger than a contract. But it's agents have taken it over. Mm-hmm. Endorsements have taken it over. It's no longer the purity of the sport. And I'd even go a step further, that youth sports, I released a book in 2018. There's youth sports injury epidemics. Youth sports industry is $17 billion. That's more than the NFL. So they're pimping out kids that you go to a kid's game and it's not. Do you want to know where sports really exists? It's bear surfing on the wave, or it's pickup games in the alley. You know what I mean? That's where the pure sport lies. Now we've corporatized everything. Like, everybody is a commodity now, even the 10-year-old.
Yeah, it's
to this day, I have the best memories in sports being out, just with my buddies playing sandlot. We had some good athletes, where I grew up. Dan Fouts from the San Diego Chargers was our quarterback in, high school. We played CYO basketball together. And, we were out in the dirt, drawing plays and everything. It was really old school. And we just had a ball. Let me ask you, Tommy, what your experience in sports was, because when I was playing, at that level of sports, it was like the original melting pot. It was more than just integrated, but nobody saw race. Nobody, that stuff didn't exist. My roommate, was president of the Black Student Union, and all of us years later are still friends, raised our families together. And there just wasn't any problem. We used to, just like jocks do in the locker room, we're just like pretty irreverent with each other, and just, made each other laugh. And now all of a sudden we have all these issues that didn't exist in my experience. And, I still talk to some of my old friends, I played ball with, and we're all shaking our heads together and saying, what's this about? So did you have any kind of different experience when you were playing?
Yeah, so I was a multi-sport athlete as early as I could imagine. I was outside all day, every day. We played two-hand touch when it was football season, and we played pickup basketball when it was basketball season. We played wiffle ball and baseball when it was baseball season. And then in the summer, and we went to the pool, and we played tennis. We played manhunt. We had, we were outside all the time. I was not good at all in anything until way later in high school. So I had the name Tommy John, and I was not good at baseball until my senior year. But I kept working because I knew I would be. Well, now everybody tries to get the greatest 10-year-old, and you do get great 10-year-olds, but then you have these broken 14, 15, 16-year-olds. So I peaked my senior year of high school, where I was the Gatorade State Player of the Year, after having not been anything for my entire life. And then my senior year, the best player in the state of Minnesota. Okay. And then I got a scholarship and went to Furman University, and I was a middle infielder and pitcher. That's another thing that's changed. I chose Furman because they were going to let me play middle infield and pitch. So on game Saturday, doubleheader Saturday, I started second base in the first game and then started pitching the second game. That's not done anymore because nobody can handle the workload because we devolved so radically over the last 20, 30 years and nobody can handle anything. So now you go, one of my biggest dreams come true was after my freshman year, I got the call to play in the Cape Cod League. And that was one of my dreams of all time, was to be considered one of the best players in the nation from the college ranking, to play the best. Now, here's the shit of it, guys. I was playing somewhere before the Cape called me, and I had just an achy shoulder. We all have achy shoulders. Stuff happens. But what do we do in America? We go get tests to make sure everything's okay. And I'm not saying you pick and choose your tests. That's fine, but we can overanalyze at times, and there's a risk. So now they do a dye injection into my shoulder, the arthrogram. Now tests come back. I'm totally fine. It's basically tired shoulder. I mean, you can call it tendonitis, call it whatever. It's just tired, and it's healing actually. Inflammation of the tendon. Okay, so the tendon's healing. All right, cool. But I got an infection, a staph infection from that arthrogram. Now my socket swelled up. I had pus. I had an immune response. I had 105-degree fever. I had to be on IV antibiotics for a month after that. The infection ate away to survive me, ate away my shoulder to keep it to the shoulder so it wouldn't go systemic. Pretty brilliant, actually. But I had not come back from that. It took me 3 years to finally come back from that. And I played 2 years of pro ball, but I was not the same. And it was the rehab protocols and everything else were an absolute disaster and a joke back then. So had I had my own profession now and the way I go about things now, it might have been a little different considering everything regenerates. But back then I got a dose of what the medical community can cause and then what they can save. So they created this environment, and then they also saved my life, you know, with the emergency care. So it was like, damn. And then I got my first taste of physical therapy and everything else. But I had 4 years of college. I had 2 years of independent professional baseball as a pitcher. And then it was good. I was done. But again, what's going on then with what's going on now guys have like recruiting, you know, businesses where they make videos of you and you're awful. All they're doing is just dressing up piles of shit. Like the kids are still bad, but now they've spent $3,000 to $5,000 to advertise how bad you are. And everyone's making a living off of the ones who are going to college are still the ones who went to college 20 years ago. The best, the best ones, the ones who kind of figured it out. We've tried to like make everything available to everybody. And it's just, you know, some of you aren't going to play college. Some of you are not going to play pro. That doesn't mean stop playing, but it's just not for everyone. And that's just changed now. There's billions of dollars to be made in trying to sell this dream. That's just not for everyone. And it's not to say don't try, but you got to understand the reality of the rarity of being college one and then pro and then elite pro. Like, holy crap, there is another level of human.
Wow, there's so much to unpack right there. I mean, first of all, the iatrogenic issue, right? You just went through a microcosm of what Western medicine is, right? Which is problem, reaction, solution, which is a lot of times the problem created by the very system that's trying to heal you. And then they go, oh, we got the perfect, emergency healing situation. And Bear can talk about this forever. We're good at that. We're good at fixing the problems we create, but I have no concept or understanding how the body actually works or what disease is and all that. Wow, that is a crazy story, dude. Yeah. Wild. But go ahead, Bear.
No, I was just going to comment, a big part of the problem is, I did see some high level athletes, in my clinic, even though it was more about chronic degenerative, clients. And they were always under a time crunch because it was money. And they come in with a particular problem and I detail it out. I'm a kinesiology diplomate and had a lot of, good orthopedic background. And we'd get in there and say, yeah, we can fix this, but it's going to take a little time. You're going to have to do this. Or say, hey, I got to get back out in the field. Otherwise, I'm going to lose contract. And so basically it boils down to money. And so they opt for really stupid stuff that in the long run, they're going to lose a lot of money because it cuts their career short, but they're worried about falling out of favor in the short term. So, that's the situation sports is in right now. It's all about money.
Yeah, the NFL. So my brother-in-law is the longest tenured Chicago Bear of all time. He's Patrick Manley. He was a long snapper. So while I was in Chicago for 14 years, a lot of the clientele we had were Chicago Bears. And the NFL was one of the most grotesque. I mean, they'd come in Monday and have to be ready by Sunday with some of the most gnarly soft tissue stuff you've ever seen, and it was one of those things. Okay. Plus they're giving them a little manila packet of, cocktail of narcotics and some other stuff and shooting Toradol in their ass right before a game. And then they'd slam 2 Red Bulls because the Toradol would make them drowsy. And then wondering why they're dipping out when they're after their career. So it was hard to address the holistic, but it was one of those things that was one of the most unfair environments for the human to heal in.
Yeah.
As professional sports with that level of money.
Yeah. I had an experience early on in college. I was starting in college early on, and I sprained an ankle, really bad ankle sprain. So I could hardly walk on it. And so I just one day practice, I waved my hand, no mas. And the coach just, I go over and he goes, well, okay, I guess Craighead's going to have to take your position. And, the message was loud and clear. So I went out there. So the rest of the season, before every game, of course, they put an entire cast on it, tape it. But before that, they'd shoot it up. That would kind of sedate me systemically even. Right, then they'd give me beaners to get me, back up, So I just remember after those games, I'd be in the shower in the locker room and I'm just like, my whole body's shaking and my eyes are like this. And I made it through the game. Fortunately, it healed in the offseason. I never went through that again, but that sucked to have to go through all that. And I could have done permanent damage to my body forever.
Right. Scary.
Someone's saying in chat here that the NFL was actually created by the Skull and Bones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Walter Camp. I mean, you go down the esoteric, you see all sorts of weird symbolism and stuff with it. And,
sure.
It's professional sports is a trip, man. Like the whole Kobe Bryant thing.
Yeah.
I was saying and I was a Kobe Bryant fan, and I grew up as a Lakers fan and growing up in SoCal, and I always liked Kobe. I know he had some weird stuff in the past, and then, but that whole thing with him, with the crash and everything, and his supposed death, and I don't know, some people say he's not dead, whatever, but that was like the start of. That's what initiated the new whole paradigm that we're in now. If you go back and look in 2020, it was that crash, and all of a sudden, then the NBA shut down, and then the MLB came out, and all the professional sports, if you remember, they were the ones that kind of led this is the new normal. They use sports in that way, but there's a lot of weird stuff. And I guess actually today, they're coming out with I forgot the federal agency that's actually doing their final report on the Kobe Bryant crash today. So that's supposed to be live today. They're going to actually do their whole investigation's done, but it's a trip. All the esoteric, weird occult stuff that's attached to sports. Yeah. Did your dad have any weird feelings like when he was playing? Like, did he see any creepy stuff
Yeah. So here's the thing with my dad. He has no point of view about what's going on now. So, sorry. Somebody calling in. Hold on. We there? All right. You're here. Somebody was calling in. So he has no point of view about. My dad's a very simple man. He has a single-minded focus, and everything else just doesn't. He doesn't even play it in. And I've never seen or met somebody. Did you guys see Free Solo? Did you see Free Solo?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember?
Love that movie, actually.
They almost talked about how he almost had Asperger's because he was so okay. So as if something's wrong with him, or it took that kind of personality to do what he did. Do you know what I mean? Like
he had a little bit of a screw loose or some kind of almost not psychopathic, but to be able to just like focus in that way and risk your life. Like
that was that
one. Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, he had a hard time even compartmentalizing like a relationship, right?
Yeah.
And then he got injured right after he started the relationship. I saw that movie, and I'm like, that's my dad. Like, if you talk to my dad socially, he's a trip. He's like, oh my, but if you get into it, you're like, does he care about anything? Does he have any other? No. And what's great is he just doesn't have a care in the world. But when it was baseball, it was baseball. That's it. All he wanted to do was to be the best pitcher he could be and compete against the best athletes forever. That's all. He would have, guys, if he could have defended himself and somebody would have given him a job, he would have pitched for steak. He would have pitched for, that's all he wanted to do. So when you ask that question, he wasn't social. He wasn't, I mean, he just like, what do I need to do to go out there every 5 days and be the best person that I could be? And if I can't, I'm going to figure out how to do it better the next time. That was it. And then when that ended, not a care in the world after, which is kind of cool to like have that life, to just have nothing bother you. You know what I mean? But that's pretty close. So there was a lot of drugs back then, right? But there was like cocaine in the bullpens, Studio 54 type stuff. But not he never even observed to know what the huddles in the bathroom were all about. You know what I mean? Or he would never even be in the bathroom. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, 70s baseball is pretty sweet. That was like when the dude threw the no-hitter or whatever on acid, right?
On acid, yeah.
And they would do all the pranks in the dugouts, lighting people's shoelaces on fire. And like, that was baseball, right?
Yeah.
That was like Billy Ripken with the FU on his bat and whatever. Like, that was like pre-corporate.
That was a different era. I played in the boys will be boys era myself. So it was just a natural duty of one of the assistant coaches to go bail us out of jail, regularly.
Right.
And all the things that we used to do back then, the team would have been on permanent suspension these days and all over ESPN. And, but back then it was different, but it was fun. We had fun. Mike, you brought up the whole occult side of the NFL. I don't have much information on that, but of course everybody's seen on any given Sunday, Oliver Stone, he more than kind of connected to that whole thing.
Oh God. I should watch that movie
That's
again.
Good call.
It's been a long time.
Pacino, right?
Yeah. That's right. I forgot about that movie. That's putting that on the AV movie list to watch again.
Oh yeah, the uniforms were the Knights Templar, and I mean it got deep into all sorts of stuff, and it was really right on with a lot of stuff. So yeah.
Huh.
Oliver Stone knows, I mean, obviously did the JFK movie, and I feel like he's tapped in, but he's gone like all Russia and stuff. He's gone kind of, and he's fully gone he got vaccinated in Russia, supposedly.
Oh wow.
So
I've talked to his son. I want to have his son on the podcast. Sean.
Yeah.
Have you heard? Yeah.
What up?
Yeah.
Sean went all Muslim for a while. Do you know what's up with that? Like, he's an interesting cat.
Yeah. I just want to deep dive and just pick his brain, what I mean? And just kind of see what he thinks about all this stuff.
Yeah. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude. So, I mean, it's just been, I didn't catch the halftime show. I know it was like super creepy. And I heard Biden coming out and saying, everybody get the V. And I mean, it's literally like out of V, that movie V, series in the 80s when there was the aliens, the reptilians, like that is what we're seeing now. Like if you can put on the They Live glasses, if you can, like us, right? We have the glasses on. So we see it, but those that are still I feel like it's getting less and less people in that box. I really feel like it's the unmasking this year. Like more and more people are stepping out. Like when we were skiing this weekend I thought it was going to be dead because Super Bowl, it was still packed at 3. Like people were like probably thinking like us, oh no, everyone's gonna be watching Super Bowl. Let's go ski.
Sure.
I wonder what the ratings were this year. I bet they were down.
Sure.
I'll tell you that. But I heard, Biden on the big screen. Like I saw a replay of that and telling that we need more black coaches and we need, like, it's just gotten so ridiculous. It's kind of great. I think it's kind of great because I think people are way more tuned in to watch something like this now than watch CAS Miami or whatever primetime on CBS. you know? So it is, we're witnessing the collapse of the empire. I really believe that. And I know you kind of recently woke up to all this. Is that right, Tommy? Like you kind of, that's where I've heard you in a couple interviews where it really wasn't until the pandemic that you started to really get vocal about this stuff.
Yeah, so I've been in the field for 20 plus years, right? And so I've seen what allopathic stands for. I've seen the tricks they pull, and I've been very much against. I lost a brother. He's on my forearm now, but he was in the Western psychiatric world, and I have a podcast on the dark side of psychiatric meds. So I got to, and I trained his psychiatrist for 2 years. So I got to pick his brain and see how could you possibly do what you do and the way you do it? And he's not doing it any out of deviancy. He's taught that in the schools. He gives me his textbook that he learned from, and it's published by Pfizer. I'm like, how does that even, okay. All right. I mean, this just doesn't even make any sense. So I've been very much against what they stand for, what they're doing. Now, March 12th, if you remember, March 13th was the day. It was Friday the 13th, right? Oh my God, this whole thing's coming. We're going to lock down, flatten the curve, all this bullshit. Well, come Monday, I immediately was like, I feel it's all theories. I feel germs don't make you sick. This is how I live. So this whole, I don't even care what you think it is. Still not going to get me, because I'm going to put myself in the best position possible, and nothing gets us. Like, we're just an expression. So it doesn't make any sense. But I didn't know the extent of it. And then I heard Dr. Kelly Brogan on March 17th. She posted a video, and it was in her ways, right? In her glorious, beautiful, she's just sitting there all calm, and she's just dropping laser beams out of her eyes about villainizing an invisible, terror and this whole thing. And I shared that video, and I was like, wow, this is brilliant. And the hate I received, I was like, wait, what the hell is going on? I mean, I was hated, she was hated. And then I started to pull back the curtain on, I didn't know anything about any of the deep state stuff, anybody behind it, big ag, big tech, big, banks. I knew everything was kind of corrupt. I didn't know they'd all coalesce to come together to take down the world into whatever you want to say. I didn't know the extent, and I still don't know, because as I said, if I chose to dive, I don't know if I could handle it. You know what I mean? It's not something I want to know right now. I'm gonna focus on this over here. So the big pharma part, very aware of for a long time. Everything else, no. Everything else kind of blending together. The Great Reset, Agenda 21, Event 201, Agenda 2030. Holy shit, I had no idea. Here we are, and this is what I'm fighting for.
Beautiful. Yeah,
good for you.
I think it's time, people. It's like, hey guys, it's time to have the holistic sensibility of how it's all connected. It's time that people come to realization these aren't conspiracy theories. It's there. It's right in front of our face. The black magicians are doing it right in front of us. Like, they're putting it out in all their literature. This is it. It's like, this is the time. You're going to go that way. You're going to go this way. It's very simple now. And you're just very effective on your Instagram and stuff. You're funny. And one of our partners, Bear's son, who's an artist down in LA, he's like, you got to get this guy Tommy John on AlphaCast. I'm like, I know who Tommy is. He's like, oh man, he's crushing it on Instagram. He's so fun. So I mean,
cool, good.
That's the good thing, is like, we can have fun. Like,
right.
They're not having fun anymore.
No,
No,
and I think that's what, and I'm glad you said that, because sometimes I'll even, in a fit of passion, be like, oh, what did I say? Like, I honestly sometimes don't even know. You remember in old school when Frank the Tank debates and he like blacks out? I feel like that's like me. Sometimes I black out. I'm like, wait, what did I say? I was just in a stream of conscious thought. I just went, or unconscious, subconscious thought, like whatever. But I think there is that humorous side. I think there is like, life should be lived. Like, Patch Adams was a real, like disaster is funny in a manner. Like, I'm talking about my brother's death, and I'm sharing about how he tried to kill himself, and the scenario is hilarious. Like, there's some parts of it that are like, wait, this is life. Like, this is real. This is something that should be felt, and it's not denial or everything else. But if you look at, it's almost like a Coen brothers like movie, like just so dark and like, what? that you almost have to laugh, but then while laughing and being aware, okay, let's take action. Let's do some stuff that we can control, because we can't worry about all that we can't control, but what can we? And that was the part that somebody said, you have this knack of getting this point across in a comical, passionate way that sinks home rather than just dumping data. You know what I mean? And I'm just not a data guy as it is. I can't fucking stand it. Like, I can't stand it, because you could just tweak it and make it anything you want to. The data is the person. Let's follow the person, or let's go into the people. What's going on around me? What's going on in my office? What's going on with people that I know? Hey, Dr. Northrup, Dr. Tenpenny, Sayer, Dr. Cowan, Dr. Kaufman, Kelly, you know, like all of you, Dr. Brogan, all that. Like, what's going on? What are you guys learning? What are you guys seeing? What's going on? And then now, in a manner of, they keep poking that sleeping. It's almost like that. You said it. Like, now it's just like every day. All right, now the gloves have been off. We have to pull. I talked to Dr. Northrup yesterday. She's like, there's no more. Like, if you can't see it now, there's just no hope for you. And we're just going to let you go. And we're going to go over here on this side. And if you want to join us, you can. But that's it. We're coming up on a year here of all this stuff. And it's just, so I appreciate that. I'm glad that was the response, because I do get death threats, and I get the, my dad should die, I should die, you know, the whole bit. So some sad, scared people for sure.
Oh man, the Coen
Yeah, it's
brothers.
amazing. It's understandable why people don't want to know this stuff. I mean, it's kind of ugly and it's unbelievable. And what goes over most people's head is there's actually predators amongst us. And, I'd rather just talk about baseball, surfing, and, I'd rather just be training my martial arts and going to the gym and seeing my buddies. I mean, that's kind of regular life. But we're kind of backed into a corner now where if we don't know certain things, it could be real hazardous to our health. I've been traveling in circles for a long time where we've actually been trying to educate people to what's going on for a long time. And everything that we talked about, has come true. And, you're absolutely right. If people can't see it now, forget about it. In fact, within some groups that I work with, not that long ago, we just said, okay, don't even bother trying to educate people anymore. People have made their decision. So now our efforts are, focused at solution. What are we going to do about it? That's what we're trying to do on our little podcast here, just kind of share our experience and through that, tell people, look, you're not just a piece of meat. It doesn't matter, what kind of disease you've been diagnosed with. You have a lot to say about it. And, maybe that's even a good segue into some of your work, because I know you're very accomplished in performance in sports medicine. And, I might be terming that wrong, but you want to share a little bit why you've had such success in that?
Yeah, so I think my biggest, my secret is that I don't know anything. I think I admit, like, I'm still a student and I'm 20 years into this. Like, I'm still learning stuff from patients who come in where I'm like, my God, I haven't seen that ever. Like, this is incredible. The human being is immeasurable. It's infinite. We know this, right? So I follow my people. Not me dictating where I'm going to put you or where I think you should go based on your label or whatever the hell you've got pressing. Like, no, your story is totally unique to you, your temperament, your energy, your emotions, your sleep, your thoughts, your beliefs, the people you hang out with, your nourishment. All that has to come into play to heal the grade 2 ankle sprain, which can heal. That's a freaking joke. Like, physical healings, are you kidding me? That's a joke. Everything can heal. That's a flat out joke. It's all the other stuff that goes into play. And here I had somebody over the course of 10 years ago go, you're talking about my shin splints like they're cancer. And I was like, well, to your immune system and to your system, it's no different. Cancer is no different than acne. It's just an expression of what the body's doing to detoxify itself. Why did we have to itemize and compartmentalize all this stuff? And if your shin splints are an emotional load that your immune system has to go and your nutrition is, and you have a past PTSD attached to that movement, now all of a sudden there's trauma and it's imprinted on your nervous system, you're damn right your shin splints are like cancer. Now let's take some seriousness and let's go. if you want to. And that's moving forward. So I think the biggest thing for that is one, and like trying to get people to trust me that I don't heal you. There is no passive treatment that I can do that will fix you at all. It's all you and within you and expressing you. And you have to admit, these people have to admit on day one, this is a good thing, and you guys have experienced it, is they have to list. They love listing all their practitioners, holistic or otherwise. They love it. All the passive treatments, holistic or otherwise. They love their list of stuff. And I need them to admit, is any of that working? And as soon as they say no, now they're ready to do exactly the opposite of what they've done, holistic or otherwise, because there's a lot of holistic junk out there as well. You guys know this. So that's like my thing is I'm still learning at 20 years in. I treat the story, Dr. Kelly Brogan and Cowan and Dr. Cassie Huckabee, you guys know her. They treat the story of the person, not the thing. Even in sports medicine or soft tissue injuries, you're not a herniated disc. You aren't an MCL sprain. You aren't a AC whatever they call it. It's not. And then when you come in, we are globally treating everything all together, which is basically you putting yourself in that position actively to get into a state of healing better, because every trauma and injury is an opportunity to be better. If you aren't better after an injury, something is wrong with you and your approach to it. That is an option to get better, to improve. And we had a trauma in 2020. That's another thing. We should level up, which we know we are. This is no different. So somebody comes in with an ankle sprain, fix it and get better. None of this manage anything. We're not managing anything. We're putting them in positions to come back better, bigger, stronger, faster, connected, more evolved than we ever were before. And I don't care if you're 86 with MS and osteoporosis. The same holds true for you, because the force that's in the 12-year-old is in the 86-year-old. We just need enough time. And sometimes the body will die at 67 when it would have healed that chronic condition at 79. And it's like, we're all right, but the system doesn't, the way we work isn't. And so that's why we got 10-year-old in my office, 71-year-old replaced hip, pro athlete, 43-year-old potter, a 16-year-old who wants to play college tennis but doesn't really care. We've got all of them all next to each other, all moving like back when we were babies.
Oh, yep. Man.
And the cool thing about athletes, when you do treat athletes, is they have a different mentality. They're just going to get better because they say, well, I can't stop playing my sport. Every person that I used to see back in my career days, the first thing I would tell them, they come in with all this horrible stuff. And I just on day one say, you don't need me. Nice. I can't heal you. Nice. I'm going to coach you.
Right.
And when you heal yourself someday, you're going to look back and say, oh, I get what you're talking about. Right. And, they would come in with referrals from other people that had success with us and, had this whole notion that somehow we were going to, make all their karma go away. And, also on a level of being a practitioner, I also used to make no bones about it. And to this day, I still, after 40 plus years of being in the medical business in one form or the other, I feel like I'm just now able to be a good student. But every patient that I would see, because, my whole thing was to learn from it. And, you teach what you need to learn most. But everybody I got would always kind of push the envelope for me. Just when I thought I got something wired and, I know how to deal with that, somebody for sure would show up and they go, okay, bring it on. What are you going to do? And then, it makes you really walk your talk and dig down. So being a practitioner can be challenging, but if you relieve yourself of the burden that you're a healer, which I always hated that term, then it can actually be kind of fun. It's a journey. And I never looked at myself as a doctor. I always thought of myself more as a coach.
Right. I love it.
Yeah. And Tommy, you hit the nail on the head when you say that injury is an opportunity. I love that outlook. I mean, really, if it's all about life, right? Like, why are we here? We're here to play the game. Bear and I talked about this on the end of our 2020 wrap up about taking chances, and it's not about safety. It's about going out and like thriving in sometimes, like, I got a one wheel for Christmas. We talked about this briefly, and I ate it hard already on it. My family never wanted me to get one. Do you know what those are? It's like the skate one wheel thing that goes.
Yeah.
It goes like, you're like surfing on pavement, right? It goes like 20 miles an hour. And I'm like, I want one. I don't care. I want one. They wouldn't get me one because they're like $2,000. I'm like, I feel guilty buying one of those.
Holy shit, they're $2,000.
Yeah, the good one's $2,000. So I'm like, feel guilty, right? But I'm like, finally they all went on it and got me it this year because I've been a good boy. And anyways, of course, my wife's like, you got to wear a helmet, and I wouldn't wear one. And the one time I wear it, I ate it hard. So thank God I had my helmet on. But that is why we're here. We're here to play the game and to have adventure, right? And have fun. And so the universe gives us injuries for a reason. And, we say that the only state of disease, we know germs don't come and get you. That's nonsense. Like, you don't catch things, as you were saying, but there are things that happen to us that cause us issues, and injury is one of the big ones. Yeah. But I love that. That's like, it's an upgrade. It's in, and maybe all these injuries are lined up for us in our fate, for our life, in the same way that your injury was lined up to teach you about allopathic medicine, so that you could go down your path. Your goal, your soul contract, if you will, that you signed, wasn't to be the next step of your father and be a pro athlete for 20 years. You're doing it right now by doing Matthew McConaughey jokes and waking people up, which is a massive importance right now. So my point of all this is that people need to get over the damn victimization.
Yes.
And see this as like, wow, like, sweet. I mean, I've still got the scabs from weeks ago of that fall. And I look at those and I go, okay, well, I'm not going to do that again. Okay.
So Mike, why haven't I got to play on this one wheeler thing? You never even talked about it.
Well, dude, I don't want you to hurt yourself, man. You got to be safe. You got to be
video. Remember the last time?
We need video.
Go ahead.
Dude, they're fun, man. I'm going to take it on the redwoods. I'm getting the guards and stuff, but I'm going to take it through the redwoods up here, through the trails. Just so fun.
It can go off-road.
You can go fully off-road. It's like a big inflated tire. Yeah. And it's like snowboarding on asphalt or surfing. So you get that like full carving feel.
You need to start in like the Target parking lot, like we did when we were learning to drive.
Yeah, right. That's the hardest way to learn to drive too. You're like constantly on a turning and you're trying to shift. Like, whoever thought of that? It's like, I guess that's the problem with living in the suburbs or the urban environment.
Right.
But anyways,
I think you're kind of intimidated to have me use that, Mike. Last time I was at Mike's last summer, he's playing frisbee golf, and
it's
okay,
called.
I'll take one shot.
You know this game? You live at the beach. I don't know if you ever
Frost.
played this.
Wait,
Tommy, no. Cam Jam. You ever play Cam Jam?
Yeah.
I love
have
that
not
game.
played. I've seen people play it, and it looks awesome. It looks so fun.
When we lived in Redondo, I lived in Redondo Beach for a number of years. Okay. So that was like where I picked it up with my homies there. So we're playing it all day at my birthday. Bear refused. He's like, he hasn't been to our house space. So he's socializing, and just relaxing. And then he's about to bounce. And I'm like, will you please throw it once? I'm like, it's kind of difficult. He's like, okay, one throw in the can. Like,
of course he did.
I don't get what's so difficult about this.
I'm like,
he just walks out.
What else do I have to say?
But here's the thing with Bear Lando, and it's the same when we went shooting shotguns. He gets the whole in the zone idea, which is don't think. Every athlete knows that, right? It's like you're going to throw that curveball when you stop thinking about throwing the curveball and you just throw it. It's like me on the golf course when I'm putting, when I finally just stop thinking, I'll put the thing, put the hole in the ball. Same with him. He just comes up. I can see what he's doing. With the shotgun, I got this pistol grip pump shotgun, really fun. And I'm like missing the targets. I've been shooting it for years. He comes up, racks it, and then waits. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing? And I don't know what you're doing. You're getting in the zone and then boom, right on target. Boom, right on target. Like got in the zone. So Bear Lando's you got that skill, man. It's like,
Now, riding the one-wheeler while shooting the shotgun. That's what we got to see next.
That's the Olympics.
Oh,
I
well,
want to see.
which brings me to another movie. Do you remember the one with Val Kilmer? I think it was a spy kind of spoof. In the beginning of the movie, they're in Southern California. They're all on surfboards. They're playing the Gidget music.
Top
and they're
Secret.
shooting
Top secret.
Top Secret.
Of course.
Yeah.
Already been
Fantastic.
done. Already been done.
I love that we just referenced Top Secret in this episode, guys.
Oh, dude, we can go deep down the 80s movies, man, the 90s movies.
That's my jam. That's my jam.
We're film freaks. You know, I was a film major at school, so.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, I went to UC Santa Barbara as a film major.
Total cinephile. Movies are my jam. Like before they got all, I mean, I like independent films, but that decade was where it was at. I think.
Stuff was actually funny back then. I actually had a client who was like the niece of Omar Sharif. My favorite line in the whole book is, in the whole movie is, what phony dog poop? Do you remember that one? So Omar Sharif is meeting with Val. They're doing this kind of spy connection, and Omar's pretending like he's a street vendor selling these gags, and he's like pulling them off on Val, and he gets him on all these kinds of things. And then Val kind of reaches over and picks up. He says, "Oh, here's your phony dog poop." And of course, Omar says, "What phony dog poop?" Anyway, you had to have been there.
How old was Omar in that flick, man?
He was still looking good, older though.
Yeah, nice. Dude.
Back when life was fun.
Yeah, exactly. Back when John Candy was kicking, and like,
remember that? I just watched Plane, Trains, and Automobiles 2 days ago.
Love that movie.
Oh yeah,
classic.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
One of my kids' favorite movies is Home Alone, and then John Candy steals the show with like, "You like polka? Polka." I mean, just we were talking about this on the ride home yesterday, John Candy flicks, but they just don't make funny movies anymore. Like the comedy is dead, dude. It's like you're not allowed to be funny anymore because of political correctness.
Yeah, it's awful.
Well, it's
so awful.
It's laughing at somebody else's expense. That's what we call comedy these days.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's going to be a resurgence. I think humanity, comedy, it goes all the way back to Greek. That was like one of the traditional forms of entertainment, right? It's like I think everything comes in waves. I think we'll have a resurgence again. I think there's going to be a younger generation that's going to come up and go, F you, like, let's be funny again. And, but right now it's just like, oh man, I feel bad for my kids. Like we watch mostly 80s movies. Like my kids' favorite movies are like Goonies. Like that's like, they know every line in that movie. And it's like, an 80s PG, by the way, is like an R now. Like Top Gun is PG. Like that would be R. But now movies today, people would think are horrendous. Like in the 80s would go, I can't believe they made that. Like it's so funny how things change, right? But 80s movies, we were so lucky, man, grow up in that time. Like, dude, it was just, and it was harder to get a movie. You had to, like, my kids don't understand, like, you had to get in a car and go to a place and like look at a wall and then hope it's there. Right. And if it's not, someone checked it out, you're like, damn it, it's not available right now. It's something special about that.
That was a thrill. I know. And you remember you checked a new release or you checked your movie and they didn't have it. And then you went to the return pile, like up at the desk, and you were like combing through.
Dude, I worked at Emerald Video, Isla Vista, 1998. I was a film major working at the video rental store in a college town. I don't know if you've ever been to Isla Vista or up and surfed up in Santa Barbara. It's at UC Santa Barbara.
Wait, who owned it? Who?
Oh God, the guy fired. I got fired.
Was it Persian family?
No, it was an old white dude with who wore a cast all the time because he was always working the computer thing. Okay. Like a wrist guard thing. But
carpal tunnel.
Yeah,
he needed to see Tommy.
He needed to see you, bro. But dude, I had we each got our own like little shelf where we had our picks of the week.
Yeah, totally.
And I'd always have like the weird French expression 1930s movies, but then I'd throw in like Half Baked when it came out. I had that running for like 2 weeks straight.
I'm gonna make a run for it, B.
Dude, that but yeah, the laser disc I'd put on the Oliver Stone director, that was like before DVDs, right? So you'd get like the laser disc, like a Platoon when he's talking over the movie,
Yeah.
But yeah, you're talking to cinephiles here, bro. Like,
this is great.
Bret Easton Ellis's podcast. You ever listen to that when he was going? Great podcast. Highly, the writer, Bret Easton Ellis, he has one of my favorite movie podcasts. I don't know if he's still doing it, but highly recommend. He wrote American Psycho, which and where was his other two? He's had 3 of his books made into movies, but anyways, yeah, I highly recommend that podcast for people listening. And he's also kind of on our tip, where culture's going. Like, he was calling this years ago, that movies were going to end and everybody's just into micro narratives now. Like, these kids just want to see Snapchat 15-second narratives now. Like, they can't sit through a movie. No. Not my kids.
Yeah.
Not my kids. I got my kids dialed. Yeah, Bear.
Yeah, my kids were Mike's age. So in fact, that's how Mike and I met each other. He's good friends with one of my kids, but they all grew up in that 80s period. So it was a fun time. So Tommy, I'm an old hermit up in the woods here, and I'm kind of out of touch what it's like to walk around an actual city. So what's it like down in San Diego? Is everybody falling for this thing or what?
So I'm not very social. I don't go out. I connect with my people and I stay with my people. So my bar is like the beach, or is Idlewild, or is, nice. A trail, right? Like I just don't go out anymore. But when I do walk down the street this morning, so I went to Swami's to meditate, had my morning drink, came back. I passed 15 people, some by themselves, some as couples, some pushing strollers, some walking dogs, some 20-some, some 80-year-olds. 100% as I was walking, did this right before I got to them. So we're at 100%. If we just extrapolate that out, now things are open and it's a little better than LA, I've heard, but still, it's still this thought that this is going to do something, and that if you pass somebody that they can affect you. And this whole, there's people, I said, I'm improving the agility of America, because as I'm coming, they jab step and will dive into bushes. And I'm like, well, you are getting quicker and stronger and more resilient at being able to evade a predator. That sucks psychologically. You think I'm a predator. So that's where I get almost I'll go through these waves of every day I have a depressive feeling, and I have I don't belong to this. I almost you guys, we don't feel human. If this is human, I don't want to be this. You know what I mean? I don't even know what you are, but I don't feel like I belong here. And then I'm like, okay, but you're here for a reason. Okay. And then I just kind of flip it. But it's gotten, so here's the thing. The first wave, everyone was on board. The second lockdown, the alert came through on our phones, and I happened to be in a group in my office of about 10 people, and all the alerts at the same time, which they hijacked the phone with the emergency alert, which is pretty interesting. And you look at it and it goes, everyone's on lockdown, second wave, needs to stay in their home, all this stuff. And everyone laughed. Everybody, what is this? So that was kind of cool to see that. But these same people are the ones wearing masks outside, so it just doesn't, it's there's this whole thing that people are yeah, it's a hoax. There's no virus, but then they'll go and sanitize right after seeing something. I'm it just doesn't, the continuity of logic. It's they pick and choose parts of the truth. Wait, there's human, the stream of it, and then you can't grab what, it's all people with religion, those convenience religion people where they're really Christian when it benefits them to be really Christian. I feel like that, instead of just being a Christian through thick and thin, and you're going to go to the ends of it. I'm not religious at all. I'm not, but you live and die with this philosophy of life. Like, you go with it. The good times, the bad times, you go. People are trying to pick and choose what benefits them. And it's like, dude, this is very, meaning I find they just don't really have much to stand on, right? It's like a sand foundation. They're not really sure of themselves. And it's sad to me because these are people that we are fighting for or trying to, help by us living our way. And you just see, and it's just like, damn. So in my small little experiment, I don't feel good. I don't feel good about, but then there's like gatherings in restaurants of our crew, and there's no mask, and we're talking about getting together and going shooting and where are we going to live and what community and how are you guys getting off the grid and who's growing food and who's got a bug out bag and who's setting up, Quartal, you guys said, right? Like what web-based thing are we going to do? What's our media outlet? Who's setting up schools? How are we doing law enforcement? How are we doing finance? How are we doing? So there's exciting stuff, but then there's, in reciprocal, there's some scary, I heard
Encinitas is actually not too bad.
Encinitas is cool, man. That's why I said, everyone's like, are you going to stay where you're at? I'm in heaven, guys. You know this. Encinitas is heaven on earth, right? So as long as when I'm in my apartment like I am now, I still have peace of mind and I feel safe, I'm good. And I've got some shit, here that I'll be good. But until if something gets threatened, then and I can't keep my peace of mind in my home space, I'll figure out a way to adapt.
Yeah. There's reasons why the hospitals have become breeding grounds for super bugs. It's because they're all day long using these napalm, sanitizers. And, so you see those, I'll go into town and you see the big, they have the stands with all this stuff and the mask. I mean, it's like amazing, but everybody's using this stuff and it's knocking at the normal external ecology on our body. It's just like,
right.
You kill all the ladybugs, you're going to be overrun with aphids. So,
right.
What is it that we don't get about that? Yeah, be hygienic, wash your hands, whatever,
Sure.
But you don't want to be sterilizing everything. Microbes are actually there for a reason, and they aren't our enemies. We talk about that all the time.
Right?
Yeah.
I do agree. Wash your hands, because I'm so radical about having the helpful flora that, like, I literally, my kids, are on my side, right? They get it, and we live in the woods, right? So my kid comes home with a perfectly preserved dead squirrel, beautiful specimen. Like, we don't know how it died. He's just playing with it, running around. He's his new friend. And lo and behold, he starts having stomach issues. And I didn't even tell you this, Bear. We came to the realization what happened is we think he got a parasite. And so this is one way that you can get sick, is through a parasite, which is a living organism that comes in. So we did the turpentine sugar cube cleanse. I didn't even tell you this, Bear. So I'm thinking this is it, or it might be the isopathic you gave us. But long story short, he went through weeks on and off of this stomach issue. And then it got to the point where it was really acute. So we did the turpentine thing, because I refuse. Even my wife, who's an RN, was like really hesitant to take him in, right? To take him in. That's like, that sounds ominous. I'm going to take him in.
Right.
And so I'm like, I got it.
You're going to shove a cotton swab up his nose and then quarantine him for the rest of his life if he's positive.
Sure.
And you don't want to be around those places. So Mike, just a quick comment, we're exposed to all those things all the time, including what we consider parasites. But if your ecology and, your kids are healthy and everything, but, if your ecology is vulnerable, that's the only way a parasite is going to set up shop in the first place. And then, fortunately, how to kind of knock it out. And then on the back end, look a little deeper as far as saying, well, why did he have a problem in the first place? So even parasites are not predators that are just going to jump on anybody and make everybody sick.
Yeah, I mean, we have a parasitic class that's in charge of the world right now and doesn't affect me. I feel like but I did do the sugar cube thing, and next, literally woke up the next, he slept through the night. He's been all good since. I did a little treatment. It's the, what's her name's protocol, who's in Costa Rica.
Dr. Daniels.
Daniels. So.
Yeah, we were doing that like 40 years ago when I was first in private practice. So it's been around a long time. It's an old folk remedy.
Yeah.
And all of this
That's
is
awesome.
essential oil of a tree, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I feel you too, Tommy. I was just skiing and everybody's outside. It's like masks keep us open. And so everybody's outside on the slopes with freaking masks on. And it's like, I mean, I put it up just to get on the lift and then I had like one of those just like things, whatever. And so then we're going through this like really, through Ashland, Oregon, and there's a high school girls track or cross country team running by with the masks on. And it's like you're out. Even the rules tell you you're okay. You're outside social distancing. Like it's like a weird psychological thing now where it's like almost like you got a virtue signal that you are on the good team. And even my wife, who's an RN who wears masks all the time, she's shaking her head like, what is going on in this world? You don't have, it's like you're 16 years old, healthy runner doing cross country, and it's like 55 degrees out. So at least it wasn't 90 out wearing a mask. And I'm just like, will this end? Like, I think they're just going to continue on and we're going to evolve and, like you said, get our own like thing going and then just kind of like slough off two different realities. And maybe that just goes away. And then it's wild, bro. Wild right now.
I know.
But also, as you say, it's rebirthing all these amazing things like what we're doing with Cordal, what I'm sure, you know, you're experiencing meeting, like we're meeting now. And like, like I could see we'll be homies and like end up going down there and surfing or whatnot and hanging out. Like, so there's always we transmute all this stuff into like beauty, right? Because that's what it is to be human. But wild times, dude. Wild times right now.
I know.
Oh man, I love that Dr. Joseph Yee, of course. He's one of my favorites, and he's another guy I know you're friends with, and I don't think he's on Snapchat anymore. But he's one of those other guys who's just amazing at being funny and bringing out the humor and all this. And he did that really funny video about going to Kelly Brogan and Sayers after party for the rally, the body rally thing, where he's talking about Andy Kaufman being a rock star and like all the girls around Andy Kaufman. He's like, dude, that's that exosome dude. Like, he's got all the girls. And he's like in bottle service, like in the club, right? The girls all around him. I mean, that's what we get out of this situation right now. Is like really, that was just.
We've got Andy Kaufman on our Health, Freedom, for Humanity podcast tonight. So who hosted is Joe, myself, and Alex Zek. And
no way.
So we have Kaufman on. We have Kaufman on tonight, and I'm going to start off with that question. I'm going to be like, actually, this was more of almost like an intervention of sorts. Joe, Andy, you guys have some things to handle, to deal with, because every time Joe talks about Andy, he forced me to drink because he did in front of me. He's like celebrating, and Kaufman. Okay, this is the true story.
Oh, this actually happened. This was a real after party.
So this is real. We're in Brogan's and Sayers' house, and we're in the kitchen, and it's all of us just everywhere, which is kind of trippy that we're all just in like one location, right? Like, it's just so cool. And so they're pouring. Joe and I, you don't show up to a party empty-handed. We walked from some god-awful place, and we go and get a bunch of, we were like, do they drink? Like, we don't know. So we got a bunch of kombucha, like $80 of kombucha, some hard cider, like some cider. And then I was like, you know what? We need at least one thing of champagne because it's celebration. Like, Kelly put this with the Thank You Body Rally was like 86 countries or 86 cities, 86, like all 6 continents. Like, it was incredible what they did. Well, all of a sudden Kaufman comes in and he like goes over, looks at the champagne. It's pink champagne, by the way. He just starts opening it, pops it, and he just starts handing out keg cups to everyone. And Joe, he hands one to Joe, and Joe's like, yo, motherfucker, like, I'm Korean. I can't digest alcohol. I get like really sick. And Kaufman goes, it's actually what you're digesting problem is acetylaldehyde. And he named the thing that he couldn't digest, and he gave it to him still. And Joe's just like looking at me. I'm like, bro, let's go. Like, we all had one. We're all like, Nostrovia, you know, like, cheers, boom, put it down. And Joe, to this day, that's where that kind of story spawned from. But I'm gonna bring it up tonight. They've got some discussing to do.
Oh, that is so funny, Merle.
Yeah.
That's a great Andy impersonation.
It was hilarious. I mean, he dropped the enzyme that
yeah.
Korean Joe is lacking. Oh my God.
So funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna all have to be hanging out. We're doing a so we did a festival last October in Joshua Tree.
Yeah,
and
I heard.
Yeah, and it was really great. And we're going bigger for the summer solstice. And Brogan and Sayer we're going to try to come out to the one in Joshua Tree, but just flying was just so difficult. It was going to be for I think Kelly's birthday or something. So, anyways, this one summer solstice, hopefully on the Eel River in the Redwoods, like amazing location.
Oh wow.
Like, right up the street from where they do all the Illuminati meet.
Sure.
But we'll do our own sacrificial stuff. We'll be going deep in the forest, wearing hooded cloaks and do all that.
Yeah.
But no, and so anyways, this I'd love to have you up there. I'm trying to, Andy was gonna come too, but yeah, so just depending on flying, like you can drive, so
I know.
so, like easier for you.
Of course. And guys, I got 10 minutes left.
Cool. Well, that's perfect. So let's wrap it up with what you're up to now. If you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing, not only with your podcast, but also with your your organization and all that would be great.
Yeah, I'm gonna let's talk about that, because this is something that it's special to be a part of. It's bigger than all of us. Alex Zek reached out to me in a DM, and I forget this, last year, and he's like, yo, do you want to start a nonprofit with me on fighting for health and medical freedom? I'm like, absolutely. Like, duh. Like, what are you talking about? So we got together, 20 of us, Dr. Ben Tapper, Seth Gerlach, Dr. Carnes, Joe, Ali, Johnny Juicer, Danny Parrott, Liz Glass.
Wow.
There's a whole bunch of us.
Heavy hitters.
And we just launched last Saturday. So the podcast is live. It's, the website is live. It's healthfreedomforhumanity.org.
Okay.
HFFH. And so we are a 501(c)(3). We have everything gone through. We've got our podcast. It's Joe, Alec, and I. That's one of our big things. But our biggest thing is, it's like Stand for Health Freedom, Millions Against Medical Man, ICANN, Children's Health Defense. Like, there's so many different organizations focusing on a particular angle. We're like every walk of life represented in this, where everybody's going to find a reason to want to call this home. They're going to relate to at least one of us, whether it's Joe, or whether it's Sarah the naturopath, or Melissa Sell, or Jody, who has kids who are vaccine injured and she healed, they healed themselves. Like there's everybody is there, bringing them all together. Now, not only podcasts that we can expose some expert advice or in anything, financial, agriculture, education, and then virology and health, right? We've had Northrop, Cowan, Kaufman, Sayer, Del Bigtree, Elle McPherson, like another athlete will come in, like, so it's everybody, right? But then we're going to do these educate to empower classes on Sundays, which are basically like master classes, so that people can come with a desirable expert talking and share, and they'll have like action steps to be able to actually possibly start their own school, or how to grow sustainable, their own garden, or whatever it's going to be. So everyone's just like, oh my God, finally, we just wanted to bring it all together into one thing. And Alec, man, that kid, he's 28 years old. I'm like 15 years older than him, and I'll just default to him. I'm like, bro, this is your baby. Where do you see this going, man? And that's the thing. Every single one of us has said, this is a hill we die on. This is a hill we die on. This is a hill we die on. This is what we're fighting for. Like, it's bigger than all of us. We have all gone through all this stuff to come to this point right now, to fight for what we're fighting for and live for what we're living for. And I couldn't be more proud to be a part of it. So yeah, that website, all our social media and everything else. And we're just getting started. So we're infants crawling, but like about to start sprinting in this nonprofit.
That's
fantastic.
Beautiful. I'm a big fan of Alec. We
Yeah.
did some spoon bending together on a class
Yeah,
together,
he said
and
Edith's class, right? Wasn't it her? Yeah,
yeah,
that's
and
fantastic.
and I want to get him on this podcast for sure. I'm so glad. Is he out of the military yet? I know he was
March.
Close. Okay.
March. So he still
Yeah.
has to tread that lightly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do everything we can. Let us know how we can help. We'll obviously put the show in the show notes here. We'll put links
That's
to all
awesome.
of that.
Thank
you know, eventually with Cordal, we'll be able to host websites decentrally, so you cannot be taken down, censorship, you know, proof.
That's amazing.
That is going to be huge moving forward, right? As we know what their plans are with that great race at. That is so amazing. So we'll be definitely checking out the podcast, and hopefully, I don't know, man. Where do you see traveling going? I mean, you traveled out to Miami for the Thank You Body rally. How was that? I mean, you wore a mask the whole time, like
No,
6 hours.
I don't wear a mask in the airport. I threw up one. I have a V for Vendetta mask. They didn't let me get through security with, and I was like, okay, fine. So then I had my Daniel LaRusso karate headband. So I threw that over my nose, and then I opt out. So they have to check me. And so I'm just standing there. And then right as soon as I'm done getting checked, I just take it off and I'm walking around. Nobody says anything when you're in the airport. Getting on the plane,
Okay.
I just pulled it up, got on the plane. Now on the plane, they're all over me. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then I learned that if you're sipping a tea, they don't do anything. Clients of mine have told me they keep a sucker stick in their mouth, a sucker stick, and you can't, if you're eating, all of a sudden the virus isn't dangerous and they don't mess with you. So if you just like display pretzels on your tray stand,
Slowly
and
eat
you
a pretzel.
just literally make this chewing movement, you don't have to eat the pretzels, just chew. Yeah, like it's just the stupidest thing. But there were others like looking at me like almost like, not you heathen, dangerous lunatic, but like, man, I wish I could do that. You can. And so if it gets to the point to where test or vax, I won't fly again. That's just it. And guess what? That means we road trip, baby.
Yeah. Until they have the border checks. But no, papers. On the summit we're working on with Josh Del Sol and Alfa Vedic and Bear and all of us are featuring it. We have, oh gosh, what's her name? Who's working on the, this is bad that I can't remember her name right now. She's working on the Freedom Airlines, where
Dolores Cahill,
Dolores
right?
Cahill. She's we're featuring her on the summit, and she's
That's
working
awesome.
on that. So there's always solutions, you know, as long as we have a free market, enough of a free market and stuff. But yeah, the Ralph Macchio thing. I worked with Ralph Macchio actually on when I worked. Yeah, you're a Ralph Macchio fan too, right? Or
I'm a Karate Kid Part 1, 2, and 3 fan, and then I'm a Cobra Kai series fan. Cobra Kai, hold on. I'm a Cobra Kai series fan. I've seen the 3 seasons twice through.
Wonderful. Bear, I don't know if you know that, but it's a hilarious YouTube series about the dude that was like the bad guy in Karate Kid, what's his name, who it follows his life.
John Lawrence, yes. Come on.
Yeah, you're aware. So I worked with Ralph Macchio on a short and became homies with him. And everyone called me, as a kid, I looked just like him growing up as a skinny little kid. So everyone called me Daniel's son my whole life. So it was kind of
fantastic.
So anyway,
I liked his movie Crossroads, where he's shredding and then totally. That was a good one.
Guitar,
anyway,
man.
Hey, we don't want to keep you too long, but this has been awesome. Just
guys,
a lot of fun.
Rock.
Just a great change of pace for us.
Thank you so much. Of course.
Hey, Tommy, we'll have to kick it when we come down there and do some surfing and hang out. And we'll have you back on the show in some future time to follow up and see how everything's going with everything you're doing, man. We're so stoked.
I appreciate that. For sure. Hit me up.
I'll bring my Donald Takayama surfboard.
We got to have a catch. We'll have a catch on the beach, man.
There we go.
There you go.
I love it. Okay, brother.
All right, guys. Be good.
You too.
See ya.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.
That was a fun one. I like doing these more relaxed kind of discussions with guests. You know, it doesn't have to be all about bugs or some specific esoteric thing. Or I hope people enjoyed this. It was a little different kind of vibe than some of our other Alpha casts, but I love Tommy. He's a great person to have on this planet, huh?
And baseball baseball is a good metaphor for all of life. You know, there's a whole esoteric side of baseball. I forget a book I read a long time ago about how sports were brought to humanity by other elements of intelligence, we'll say, you know, for our own evolution. And there was baseball was one of those devices that actually had good attributes that were important for the development of humanity in a bunch of different levels. A whole really cool discussion, you know, we got to get into someday. And myself, you know, I opted for football instead of baseball. It's the one regret I have in life. But I believe that the fall of America began when the national pastime changed from baseball to football. You know, we went from this great American pastime where we're up in the stands, you know, people are socializing, having a great time. You know, to this day, you know, the only sports events I've ever been to in my life were baseball games. You know, my wife was, not my wife, my mom was a baseball nut. So she'd take us out to Candlestick, and that was back in the early 60s when you had Orlando Cepeda at first, Willie McCovey, or Willie Mays. Willie Mays was like my absolute hero, still is to this. I mean, he's just, I think, the most amazing athlete of all time. And
that was my mom's,
you know,
my mom's
just,
favorite player too, Willie Mays.
Yeah, just an amazing thing. The highlight of my life is when I was in high school. I played this summer league. It was called the Joe DiMaggio League, and we had some good baseball talent where I grew up. And the Joe DiMaggio League was like sort of like the high school all-stars, you know, that would all show up in the summer, play the summer league. We also had aspiring pros. So, you know, for the first time, I'm, you know, batting against these guys that are throwing BBs at me. But we were sponsored by the San Francisco Giants. So we got to wear their old uniforms. And those were the uniforms where they had the old woolies, you know, and they didn't have the names on the back. But if you open up the lapel, they had, you know, just embroidered the player's name. So I was a center fielder. And I had number 24, you know, and you open it up, it was like Willie Mays. And I mean, that was like, to me, it was like God back then, you know? So anyway, that's my baseball story. A lot of fun, a lot of good ball players, a lot of good memories. And baseball, I think America will make the turn around the corner for the better when baseball once again surpasses the popularity of football. And I think that might be happening.
That's a cool theory. I like that. You know, a lot of people say baseball is really boring and old fashioned, but it's a game of strategy. And I think there is a lot of symbolism or a lot of connection, microcosms to reality, to life and how to live it appropriately. And one of them is patience, right? Patience is a virtue. And baseball, it's waiting for the ball to get to you and knowing when to strike and of course, reaching third base and all that stuff, of course, but relationships wise. But yeah, no, obviously I'm a huge baseball fan my whole life. And there's something about it that really breaks my heart to not really have it anymore. But that's okay. You know, I feel like you're on something there, Bear. I feel like when we get that back, you know, I'm trying to remember the James Earl Jones quote from Field of Dreams. Baseball.
Yeah, where he starts, he says baseball.
Yeah.
And he goes about the sky. And that's, you know, baseball to me, my experience was I used to look forward to baseball practice. And I used to look forward to the season. You know, you'd get out there, it would be early spring, the smell of the grass, the smell of your baseball glove. You know, you remember just like putting your face in the baseball glove. And it was just fun. It was great. You know, you'd have conditioning, but it was fun. When I made the transition to football, I'd be out there in the middle of two-a-days saying to myself, what the F am I doing this for? So, but anyway, that's another story. Well, my one regret in life, I should have stuck with baseball. And I wouldn't have had to have bulked up like 9 million pounds and ruined my body forever. You know, for everything else thereafter, you know, just all the injuries and heavy weightlifting and, you know, not the best thing for your body in the long run.
Like Tommy's story, though, maybe you would have been a pro baseball player and like not be where you are today as a practitioner. You would have literally been that doctor from Field of Dreams, who, remember, played by God, what's his name?
Burt Lancaster.
Burt
That was my
Lancaster.
favorite scene in the movie. Yeah, favorite
Right?
scene. Where he steps over the line, and all of a sudden he's got his dress shoes on and the shirt, and
Yep.
he's got get a little doctor bag, and
Yep.
yeah, that's perhaps my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, such a tearjerker too. Like, it gets me every time. I watch that with my kids once a year. One of my favorite movies of all time. And of course, it gets panned by the critics as sentimental and silly. And, meanwhile, those are the types of films we need more and more than ever. I mean, build it and they will come, seize the moment, or whatever the voice
so
is
many
saying.
things. And then, of course, the scene in the auditorium at the town meeting when his wife is, what's her name? Holly Hunter? Was that her?
Not Holly Hunter, but I'm blanking right now, but she's talking about the book burning and everything.
But she gets out the Ava Braun and the book burning. That would probably be censored, in this day and age. But here we are. We surpassed Nazi Germany in book burning at this point. Okay. Hey, Michael, this was unbelievable. I'm supposed to be on another Zoom meeting with a bunch of doctors in Europe, for that video collage that I'm part of. And I was supposed to be on that about 35 minutes ago. I'm going to jet and see if I can still hop on that.
Cool.
And,
I will let you go. I've got Pacific Power here now to come look at my meter, because I refuse to have a digital smart meter. So he's coming to look at it and read my meter. So I'm going to go say hi to him and appreciate him. And we will see you guys next week for another Alpha Cast. And thanks so much for joining us today. We love you. Get outside, grow something, get your feet dirty, go on a hike. Nature is the best healer. And we will see you next time. Thanks. And everybody in DLive world and YouTube, everywhere else, thanks for joining us today. We love you. We'll see you next time.